Hi, Shane here. You're watching Sam for God, and this is Mark. Check her out.
Hi guys, how are you doing? So, as some of you may know, I was in New York recently. I posted a vlog for it a couple of weeks ago, so you may have already watched that. But anyway, it was an amazing trip. I was only there for about 3.5 days, but of course, being a theatre fan, I got to see 3 shows. Every night that I was there, I watched one show because I just had to. And it was amazing. It was my first time experiencing Broadway, so it was just really exciting. I mean, I'd been to New York before when I was a child. Obviously then, my interests were quite different to my interests now. I mean, when I was a kid, I was more interested in like toy shops and play areas and stuff like that. So going back now as an adult was just incredible. Just going to Times Square and seeing all these theatres was incredible. Anyway, the first show that I saw while I was there, which is also actually the first show I ever saw on Broadway, was Wicked, the musical, as you can probably tell by the t-shirt that I'm wearing. I thought long and hard about what show I wanted to be my first Broadway show. But in the end, it just had to go to Wicked. I mean, Wicked is one of my favourite shows of all time. It's probably my favourite show of all time. I've seen it many times in London, and you know, I just wanted to experience it on Broadway. So yeah, on the day that I arrived at New York, we ended up going to see Wicked the musical at the Gershwin Theatre. This is the playbill for it. Wow, I mean, playbill, my first ever playbill. It was just such a cool experience to go there and have playbills handed to you. I mean, that just doesn't happen in London, so that was really cool. Anyway, I'm not going to make this a review of the show itself because, like I said, I've seen the show many times in London, so I know the show very well, and because of that, I just can't do a proper review because it just won't feel natural because I've seen it so many times and I don't look at it in a way that a first-time viewer would look at the show. So this is mainly going to be my experience of Wicked on Broadway because it was my first time seeing it on Broadway, and I just want to kind of talk about the differences on Broadway to the West End version and just what I thought of the cast and all that stuff. So yeah, hopefully you'll enjoy the video, and if you don't, I apologise in advance. Okay, so first I want to talk about the theatre itself. The Gershwin Theatre is obviously quite different to the Apollo Victoria Theatre, which is the host of Wicked in London. The Gershwin Theatre is a very modern theatre from what I could tell. It just looks very modern, I mean, they had escalators in the theatre, which just, what? Escalators in the theatre? That's just weird to me. They had the Time Dragon in the actual foyer area, which again was pretty cool because we don't have this in London. But yeah, it was just a differently structured theatre. Apart from that though, the atmosphere, the vibe was pretty much still the same. You could feel the excitement of the audience members just before going into the actual main area, you know, just in the foyer you could just feel it, just the excitement of everyone, like you can feel it here in London as well when you go to Wicked. The Gershwin Theatre is also slightly smaller than the Apollo Victoria, just a little bit. I think the Apollo Victoria has 2,400 seats, I believe, maybe, something like that. And the Gershwin Theatre has about 1,000 and maybe 800, something. I really don't know, but I just know that it's slightly smaller than the Apollo Victoria in London. Anyway, so apart from that, the show had some little changes to it. Some of them I already knew about because I'd read about online or I'd seen maybe videos on YouTube, but some of them did take me quite off guard. They're very minor changes, by the way. I don't mean anything massive that a first-time viewer would notice. It's mainly little changes in some of the lines that they said, or maybe some of the sets were slightly different. I don't think I can remember every single one of them, but I'm going to name a few that I remember at the moment off the top of my head. The first one, which I already knew about, is the line in Popular, or where Glinda says how to fix your hair. They say fix your hair in America, but in London they say how to do your hair. And I'm obviously really used to them saying how to do your hair, so I was a bit like, whoa, how to fix your hair, what? But I completely understand that, and I already knew about it because fixing doesn't really mean anything in London. Fixing your hair just isn't something that people use in England. So obviously I'm guessing when they brought it over to London they had to change that to do your hair to make it more understandable to an English audience. Then there was a line in Madame Morrible's first scene, I think when she says your room allocations. In London she says room allocations, whereas I think from what I could remember on Broadway they said room assignments. That's the one that I just didn't really know about. I didn't realise that it was different in America, but I'm guessing maybe people don't say allocation in America. I don't know, because in London it's room allocations, you know, whereas in Broadway, on Broadway, they said assignments, room assignments, I think. It just wasn't allocation. Can't remember exactly what they said, but it was an allocation. These are the only 2 lines that I can remember off the top of my head, but there were a few more as well, I just can't remember them right now. Then there's also some differences in the sets. For instance, one of the obvious ones, which again I knew about this one because I used to watch videos of Kerry Ellis when she was on Broadway on YouTube, so I'd seen it. But in Defying Gravity, where Elphaba's broom comes on stage, flies on stage, in the London version it flies on stage from the side of the stage, like one of the wings basically, it just flies like that. Whereas on Broadway it flies from under the stage, which was a bit like, whoa, I knew about it, but it did still surprise me a little bit. And Elphaba and Glinda themselves actually, I think, climb up from the stairs from below the stage up during Defying Gravity, I think, on Broadway anyway. In London there is no area behind the stage, so they can't go under the stage, so it's all like, yeah, can't really explain it. Also, I think it was in doing Thank Goodness, I think a random balloon popped down, which we don't have this in London, but there was just a random balloon coming down whilst Glinda was singing Thank Goodness, which I thought was quite interesting. Yeah, that's pretty much all I can remember from the little set differences as well. Then there's a few acting things that were quite different. These are things that probably are only different because of the fact that different actors have played it and different resident directors and stuff like that. But for instance, in the London version of Wicked, during Popular, when Elphaba's trying to imitate Glinda's toss, the second time she does it, she almost falls off to the ground. And that's always very funny, the audience always laughs at that point. And every Elphaba I've seen in London does that, the whole kind of nearly falling off the bed. But they didn't do that on Broadway. Now I don't know if it was just that Elphaba that didn't do it, or if they just don't do it in general. But that's something that I was like, whoa, because I'm so used to it, and I just thought that it was something that was in the show. But I'm guessing it's more of a fact that maybe one of the Elphabas in London, probably Kerry Ellis or maybe Idina Menzel, when she was maybe she did it, and then all the other Elphabas after her decided to do it as well. But because no one's done it on Broadway, it hasn't kind of become something that's become part of the production, whereas it's become literally part of the production here. All the Elphas do it now. Similar to that, during the March of the Witch Hunters, where Glinda's on one side and then Bach is on the other side, that part where Madame Morrible goes, just shut up and wave and smile or whatever. In the London version, she holds Glinda's hand and like waves it, and Glinda looks all sad trying to be, smiling and stuff, but she just looks terrified and waving at the audience, but just after Madame Morrible says that line to her. Whereas in New York, as soon as Madame Morrible said that, like, shut up, just wave and smile and shut up, Glinda just went off stage, which again was a bit weird to me because it doesn't happen in London. And I actually really like the fact that in London Glinda has to stay on stage for a bit and do that thing, because you can literally see how terrified and upset she is in her face while she's trying to pretend that nothing's happened. I really like that, and I was a bit confused as to why it didn't happen on Broadway. Anyway, I think that's pretty much all I can remember regarding like the acting differences or set differences or line differences, but there were a couple of more that I just can't remember right now. So let's talk about the cast, shall we? First off, I have to say that one of the main reasons that I even decided to go and see Wicked on Broadway was because of Lindsay Mendez and the vlogs that she's been doing on BroadwayWorld.com for the past few months. I remember I just randomly came across one of them a while ago, and I made the mistake of actually watching it, and because I watched that one I decided to watch all the other ones as well, and I just became very interested in the whole cast of Broadway's version of Wicked. They all seemed very friendly, they all seemed very cool and interesting and very good as well, and I was just interested to actually see them live because I'd watched them, talk about the show and show us backstage and all that stuff. I was like, if there ever was a cast on Broadway that I wanted to see, it would be this cast: Lindsay Mendez, Katie Rose Clark and Derek Klenner. So I'm blaming Lindsay Mendez for making me want to go and see Wicked on Broadway, really. And hilariously enough, she wasn't even on the night that I went. She was off that night. At first I was a bit gutted, but that only lasted for a little bit because I was still very excited just to be seeing Wicked on Broadway, so it was just a very small disappointment. And anyway, the person that I was mostly excited to see was Katie Rose Clark, and she was on, so I was happy. The Elphaba we did have on instead of Lindsay Mendez was called Donna Vivino, and I've actually got an understudy slip here in my playbill. There you can see her. The role of Elphaba will be played by Donna Vivino. I don't know if you can actually see it on camera or not, but yeah, that's who we had on as Elphaba that night. I'm actually going to start with her because she was probably the most normal actress in the show, character anyway. She was the one who played Elphaba most like I'm used to it, if that makes sense. She was really good. I thought she had a gorgeous voice. I'm not quite sure if I really liked her Elphaba that much, but she was just a standard Elphaba, a very standard Elphaba like I've seen many times in other actresses that have performed the role of Elphaba before. She wasn't anything special, is what I'm trying to say. Not in a bad way or anything, because she was great, but she just wasn't anything, she wasn't unique. She didn't make me go, wow, oh my god, you're so amazing, because I've seen it before, I've seen it done before many times. But then I guess that's kind of also partly due to the fact that Elphaba's quite a one-dimensional character, and that's just, don't kill me. If you love Elphaba's character, you know, that's fine. But I've always thought that Elphaba's character is very, not simple to act, but it's very easy to do it in a very typical way, to act it out in the most typical way possible. You know, a girl gets bullied, wants to stand up to the bullies and be like, change the world or whatever. It's been done in many other shows before, and, you know, Elphaba's character is a bit different to those, but it's still the same theme, you know, bullied girl wants to make a difference, and because of that it's very easy to just, you know, for all the Elphabas to pretty much act it out the same way. And just on a side note, that's actually why Nikki Davis-Jones, the performer, is my favourite ever Elphaba, because she's actually done something special with the character. With a character that actually doesn't have that much to it, in my opinion. She's literally made the effort to add new things to it and make it a lot more unique to her personality, her own personality, and I really love that. Anyway, Donna Verena was great. She was just like any other typical Elphaba that I've seen. And because of that, she was actually the most, like I said, the one character I felt more used to, because I'd seen that before. I'd seen it performed that way before. The other two leads though, oh my god, so different to what I'm used to. And I'm going to explain now. First off, Katie Rose Clark. Wow. She's insane. She's just, her Glinda is not what I'm used to at all. She's literally the opposite of the Glindas I've seen before. I could not compare her to any of the Glindas I've seen before, and I've seen about 8 or 9 Glindas previously, so it was just weird. I was like, wow, I'm watching a different character altogether. But then it wasn't completely different, because it was still Glinda. You could still see the main characteristics of Glinda in her performance. It was just a bit different to what I'm used to. But she was hilarious. She was so funny. Her popular was incredibly hilarious. I was just laughing every minute. I mean, I don't understand. She was just completely different, but still incredibly good. And that's why she was actually the highlight of Wicked for me. She was the performer that had the most impact on me when I saw it on Broadway. She was just excellent. Because for me, she literally turned Glinda into something unique and different again. Something that I'd never seen before, something I'd never imagined Glinda could be like. I mean, I don't know, I think the best way I could describe for Glinda is that she was a very random Glinda, a random and crazy Glinda. Some of the things that she would do on stage, like physically, I think she was incredible. I mean, her physical comedy was great. She was just like fainting every now and again, or like doing random turns with her hair, and it was just really, really funny. It was funny, but not in a way that I'm used to, is what I'm trying to say, I guess. Which is why I loved it, because it was like a breath of fresh air. What I actually found really interesting about her portrayal of Glinda was that sometimes she would keep like a really straight face while she was delivering lines, and yet the lines would come out really funny and I would literally laugh and all the audience would laugh, even though her facial expressions wouldn't be changing at all. And I was like, how is that possible? But it's just a different way of comedy, I guess, and she made it work, and I really liked that. That's actually what made me love her, because I admire performers who put their stamp on a character and are bold enough to try something new with characters, and she literally had done that with Glinda, because I'd never seen Glinda like that before. I can't say she's one of my favourite Glindas, because I prefer Glindas a certain way that I'm used to, but I still really enjoyed her performance, and I would love to see her again in other shows, because I think she's a great actress in general, because someone who can do that and change a character for me completely obviously has a great imagination and is a very creative person. Her voice was not as strong as I'd imagined. Don't kill me. Maybe she just had an off night that night, but I mean, I've seen some other Glindas with much better voices. Sorry. It was still a good voice and everything, but like compared to say Gina Beck, who's the current Glinda in London, her voice just wasn't as strong. But it was still great, you know, she wasn't just funny either. Like, Thank Goodness is a song that I usually judge Glindas on. No matter how funny Glindas are in Act 1, I can't say if I like them or not until I've seen them in Thank Goodness. And Katie Rose Clark was incredible in that as well. Her facial expressions in that were completely heartbreaking. She sang it with so much emotion that you just felt for her. Probably one of the best Thank Goodnesses I've ever seen. She was just brilliant. Really, really liked her performance. So yeah, I'm just really glad that I got to see Katie Rose Clark, because she's actually left Wicked on Broadway now, and she's been in the show for a very long time, I think. She's been doing it for about 4 years. So, I mean, maybe that's why she's become so creative with the role of Glinda. But yeah, she was great. She was completely different to anything that I've seen before, like I said. And I don't really know, maybe it's just all Broadway Glindas are like that, because she was just a very Americanised version of Glinda. Obviously when you watch it in London, any actress who plays Glinda in London has to turn Glinda into more of an English girl. I mean, you've still got the famous characters of Glinda even here, but for an English audience to actually be able to relate to Glinda, Glinda has become a lot more English, if that makes sense, in the London version. Whereas obviously Katie played it in a completely American way. It was like, I don't know, it was just different, and maybe that's why I found it so different, because she was playing an American Glinda. Not just the accent, she was just playing an American Glinda, and I find it quite difficult to explain, but it was great. I really did like it. Then we've got Derek Lenner. I was very excited to see him. Like I said, I've seen him in Lindsay's vlogs before on BroadwayWorld.com. He seemed like a cool guy, a pretty funny guy, and I'm not going to lie, I found him quite good looking. So I was pretty excited to see him as Fiyero, and oh my god, it was completely different to how I expected him to be. He wasn't bad, I don't mean it in that way, but it was just not at all how I'd pictured his Fiyero to be like. Because Fiero's meant to be a prince, right? And so in my mind, when I think of Fiyero, I think of him as some sort of prince. And Derek Lenner was not like a prince to me at all. Maybe that's just me. Maybe it's because in my head, when I think of a prince, I don't think of the way that Derek Lenner portrayed Fiyero. Every single Fiyero I've seen in London, even though there's been some that I haven't really liked that much, I still had that kind of prince aura about them that's made me feel like, oh, they are genuinely a prince. I didn't get that vibe from Derek Lenner whatsoever. And that's not a bad thing again. I mean, that's probably just me not getting it, but yeah, to me, Derek, the way he played Fiyero, was like a typical high school kind of manly guy, and it was weird. It was really weird. I think part of that has to do with the accent, the fact that it wasn't an American accent, and a very thick American accent as well. Just in my mind made me think of him as an American kind of college student or high school guy or something like that. Troy Bolton. He reminded me of Troy Bolton basically. And I'm not saying that in a kind of criticising way, because I really did like his performance. It was just not at all how I'd imagined it, and it just wasn't Fiyero to me at all. Sorry. He had an amazing voice though, and like I said, I still loved his performance. Some of the lines that the way he said some of the lines was really, really great. His dancing was great, his acting was fantastic, singing perfect. It was just a whole kind of thing of he's meant to be a prince, but I just didn't really get that from him. And I'm going to blame it on the accent, because I think I just probably wasn't used to Fiyero being played with an American accent. I mean, I'm used to hearing Dancing Through Life, whereas he was like, dancing through life, come on, let's go and like American like colleges, and it was just weird. Right, so that's my opinion on the three leads basically. Donna Vivino was like pretty much any other standard alpha I've seen before. Katie Rose Clark was fantastic, completely different to what I'm used to, but she was great. Derek Lenner was slightly weird, because in my head he wasn't the way I want Fiyero to be like, but he was still amazing. And yeah, now I'm going to talk about some of the other characters as well, briefly. We had another understudy on as well, which was for Madame Morrible. Madame Morrible was played by Betsy Werble, something like that. She was actually really, really good. I thought she was excellent. Great voice, looked pretty evil, and yeah, I really enjoyed the performance. The Nessa we had was the main Nessa, Catherine Charles Boyce something. She was just like any other Nessa I've seen before. She was great voice, but I've seen Nessa done like that before, so she wasn't very memorable, if that makes sense. One particular performer who I thought was really, really good, a stand-up performance for me, was Bach. He was played by Michael Warteller, and he was just excellent. He's probably one of the best Bachs I've ever seen, and I've seen a lot of Bachs. I've seen over 10 Bachs, and he was really, really good. I'd love to see him in London if he could just come and do it here, because he was genuinely great. I couldn't fault him at all. Every single line that he did in the show was perfect. Just really, really enjoyed his performance. The Wizard as well was played by Michael De Vries or something. He was great. It was a bit weird because in the London production, obviously everyone's got English accents apart from the Wizard, who's meant to have a bit of an American accent, and that's kind of what makes the Wizard different to everybody else in the show. Whereas in America, obviously everybody had the same accent, and so did the Wizard. So that was a bit weird. But no, he was great. He was really, really good. I enjoyed his performance as well. And yeah, it was good. I enjoyed pretty much everybody, and I can't fault anybody in the cast. Everyone was great, and it was a great experience to see on Broadway. One other thing I actually want to comment about is the general sound. When you watch Wicked here at the Apollo Victoria Theatre in London, the sound is a lot louder than it was on Broadway. I mean, it's just, you can hear the drums. Wherever you're sat in the theatre, doesn't matter where, even if you're at the back of the stalls or the back of the dress circle, doing songs like As Long As You're Mine, when the drums go like boom, your heart just goes like whoa, and you get goosebumps because it's so loud. It feels amazing because you literally feel immersed in the songs and the music, and that didn't happen on Broadway, and apparently I knew about this as well because my friends who'd seen it on Broadway before had told me about this, but it was weird. It was just a lot more quiet, everything. It didn't feel as exciting as I'm used to because the music was just generally a lot more quiet than it is in here in London. So yeah, that was another thing that I wanted to comment on. And yeah, the whole American accent thing as well, I thought I was going to find it really, really weird, but I actually got used to it pretty quickly. Maybe about 10 minutes into the show I was like, okay, fair dues, they've all got American accents, that's fine. And I didn't really I wasn't conscious of it, if that makes sense. Although every now and again, some words would be pronounced in an American accent, I'd be like, whoa. But apart from that, it was fine. I didn't really find it that weird. And yeah, that's pretty much, I think, what I want to say really about Wicked on Broadway. I can't say, whether I preferred it on Broadway or in London. I'd actually probably have to say I prefer it here in London because I've seen it more in London, and it's the theatre that I'm used to, and I just love it here. But it was still an incredible experience seeing it on Broadway. I'm so glad that I did because, it's the home of Wicked. It's the original home of Wicked. Obviously not the original home. I know it started in San Francisco and all that, but Broadway was pretty much where it kind of all began, where it became very popular. And it's always been my dream to see it on Broadway, and I'm so happy that I can actually say that I've seen it over there now. It's just, it was great. At the Gershwin Theatre, the legendary Gershwin Theatre, home to Wicked, and Wicked's celebrating its 10th anniversary very soon on Broadway, so I don't know, it was great. It was just, I feel really lucky that I got to see it there. And yeah, apart from the playbill, which we got for free, and I'm going to show it to you again because I'm still a bit in awe of it, or wow, I've got a Wicked playbill that I actually got myself. I also got a programme. I bought one that wasn't free because I just felt like I had to, and here's the programme for it. You can see here they've got Idina Menzel in the back, which is a bit random, but I'm guessing she's the original Elphaba, so they wanted to kind of have her picture on it. And I've had a look through the programme. There is a kind of little list with all the actual cast that we got to see that night. It's just on a kind of copied list here. But the actual programme just has pictures of pretty much Elphabas and Glindas all around the world, Fieros, everyone, from every production in the world. And I find it really cool because look, they've got Louise Demon here. She's a London Glinda, and she's currently playing Elphaba in London, and she's here in the Broadway programme. I think that's really, really cool. Then you've got other people. I found Diane, oh there she is. You've got Diane Pilkington and Oliver Tomstede, who were my first Glinda and Fiero, and I just absolutely love them, so it was really cool to see them here. But yeah, there's pictures of the Los Angeles production of it, Germany, and yeah, it's a pretty good purchase. I'm glad that I got it. I can't show all the pictures to you because it's going to take a long time, and this video has already been very, very long. So yeah, I'm going to try and wrap this up and just say, again, I'm just very grateful that I got to see it there. Thank you to the Paul Broadway cast for giving me a very memorable performance, a very memorable first experience of a Broadway show, because like I said, it was my first Broadway show. And yeah, thank you for watching, guys. I know this video is really, really long, sorry about that, but yeah, if you want to comment, if you've seen Wicked in more than one place. For me, Broadway was the second place that I saw it. I'd only ever seen it in London before at the Apollo Victoria Theatre, so that's why I found it so weird. But if you've seen it in many different places, you can feel free to let me know about the differences that you've noticed, or just talk to me about Wicked and Broadway and theatre in general, because I'm always happy to talk about theatre. And thank you for watching as always, and I'll see you next time. Bye.